This is the Accredited to Accredited show, where real investors, not academics, help other investors to achieve financial freedom and grow their wealth. Here's your host, Gina Lofton.
Hello, everyone. So I just recently returned from the most incredible trip I've ever taken. And for those of you that know me well or follow me, you know that I am pretty well traveled. I was in Asia for the last 2 weeks, left around Memorial Day weekend, and came back here this past Tuesday of this week, June 12th or 13th. So I've received a number of inquiries from the audience, from all of you, and I wanted to address all of them via this episode. So I'm going to dedicate the entire episode to Asia, why I went, who I went with, what I did, how I traveled, and some key takeaways, okay? So let's kind of get started. I would like to first really say thank you to the entire Stansberry research team and Crane Shares. They were the sponsors of this conference. They organized it, and it was the most amazing organized trip. It was maybe 30 to 50 investors. It was 30 at the onset, and then it increased to about 50. And we toured many different cities. And I will share with you what those cities were momentarily, but just to give you a very high level understanding of the complexities to actually move this many people and organize all of this. So kudos to Dan and the Stansberry team for actually executing a trip to Asia, my first trip to Asia, and it was flawless execution. Okay, all hats off to all of you guys there at Stansberry. So let me just share with you where I went and why I was in Asia. Okay, so I went to Bejing first and went there a few days before everyone else, and was able to see the zoo and the pandas, and we did go to the Great Wall of China and Tiananmen Square and many temples. It was just amazing, amazing trip. We then left to go over to Shanghai, and we took a train to Shanghai, and Shanghai is amazing. It's absolutely remarkable. It is the magnitude of the size of Shanghai is probably 5 times the magnitude of what you would experience in New York City. The buildings are just massive. You can see, I put a picture or two in the show notes so you can see some of what I was able to see, but none of the pictures really would do it justice. So if you ever get a chance to get to China, I highly recommend that you do. We were on a high-speed train, and the mag-lev train. It actually it has magnetic levitation, so that's why it's called mag-lev. And it was amazing. We attended an acrobat show in Shanghai. It was just phenomenal, and then a river cruise. So we did spend a lot of time touring Shanghai as well as Beijing, and we had a meeting in Shanghai. So before I get into the meeting, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about, all of the trips at a very high level so you can understand the magnitude of what I have experienced the last few weeks. So from Shanghai, we then moved over to Hong Kong. We took a flight to Hong Kong. So while in Hong Kong, we got to see the biggest Buddha in the world, the largest Buddha. And that was an amazing experience. Stayed at a 5-star hotel, the Mandarin Oriental. It was exquisite. I definitely advise anyone that is traveling to Asia or anywhere else to definitely explore the Mandarin Oriental. So a very jam-packed week, full of exploring and seeing, and there is nothing better than actually going on a trip with people who are like-minded, and you actually get some knowledge from all of those people, and you're able to learn about the countries that you are looking to invest in. So we also had a meeting in Shanghai as well as Hong Kong. So those were the 2-day conferences, and where Stansberry Research and Crane Shares and a number of other companies presented to us. So that's really when I went, what I did, and the purpose of the trip was not necessarily to tour. Obviously that was part of it, because I don't have any differentiation between business and pleasure. It's all the same for me. But it's also to look at the investment opportunities. And since this is a show about investing, I thought that I would share with you what I discovered in Asia. So first of all, let me say that you want to actually always understand where the puck is headed. As Wayne Gretzky would say, the hockey player, always go to where the puck is headed in order for you to reap the rewards as an investor or even as a hockey player. So that's where the money is headed. And there's so many, let's just say, so much evidence and visibility of that this show can only give you a very high level of what that is. And I'm going to just kind of give you some very brief snippets from the meeting, and starting off with what a quote from Mr. Steve Sjuggerud actually shared, and I quote, his comment was, "I never imagined I'd see a moment in my career where nobody is invested in the world's second largest economy and the world's second largest stock market." Okay? I mean, that's pretty significant if you think about it. So I just want to repeat that. I mean, Steve started with that opening, and while we were at our first meeting in Bejing, and it is he's a very astute and very experienced investor, and he has never seen a moment in his career where nobody is invested in the world's second largest economy and the world's second largest stock market, which is Asia, which is the Shanghai index, which is Hong Kong. So it's that entire market. It is significant. So that's the why we were actually in Asia, and why I was very interested in going over there, because as an investor, investors want to understand where to place money and what region and how to do that. And so that is what this show is about, is to give you my perspective on Asia and the trip just in general. So let me talk to you a little bit about the key observations and catalysts, and something that I find to be very amazing. Well, one, there was absolutely zero homelessness, right, in any of these big cities. And I must say that the disparity between the incomes from those that make the least amount and the higher incomes is very great. And it is extremely expensive to actually own or rent a home in all of these cities, Shanghai, Beijing, Hong Kong, it does not matter. But there's zero homelessness. So for anyone that is in public policy in this country and you want to take something that works from a playbook, I strongly recommend that you go and see exactly how China is doing it, and maybe take that playbook and implement it. I believe in learning from those who have done it before me. That way I accelerate my learning curve. But anyway, zero homelessness, unlike here in California, where there are homeless encampments everywhere across the state. The other difference is that there's no entitlements in Asia, right? There isn't any, let's just say, welfare or work miscompensation or rent control. So therefore, however it works without all of these, subsidies and regulations And maybe that's the reason why there isn't any homelessness, is because they don't have all of those things that are here in the United States. I don't know, but that was very eye-opening to me. Hey everyone, I've got great news. If you visit us at a2ainvestor.com, go to the calendar tab and you will find all of the upcoming speaking engagements and where to find me. So this year coming up in July 2018, that is just a few months away, I will be at Freedom Fest for the third consecutive year and on a debate entitled Wall Street versus Main Street, which is better for making money, with Mr. Robert Kiyosaki, Mark Lichtenfeld, and Simon Reeves. So be sure to visit us at a2ainvestor.com, go to the calendar, and find out exactly where I will be to answer any and all of your questions. All right, I look forward to seeing you at one of the upcoming events. Let's go through what I believe are the major catalysts for growth in this region. And, I'm really just kind of giving you what you may already know, but to see it and witness it is absolutely spectacular. So the first is this Belt and Road Initiative, okay? It was formerly referred to as OBAR, One Belt and One Road. So it is a very ambitious infrastructure plan that China has committed to doing to actually connect over 70 countries in the entire region there in Asia. And it's going to be focused on building of rails, airports, highways, oil and gas infrastructure, optical cable, communications technology, you name it, the entire gamut. And I'm talking about land as well as over water, right? That is significant. And the magnitude of the dollars that will be spent in this region that has already been committed is somewhere in the magnitude of about $8 trillion, right? That's 70 countries that China has committed to actually, invest in and bring these economies up. And it will represent about a third of our global gross domestic product, right? A third of the global GDP. And China plans to lend some of that $8 trillion to these countries in order for them to become part of this economic growth engine of the entire region. So that is really one of the things that I really wanted to learn about and understand. And I suggest all of us do, because it is the largest investment opportunity in the history of mankind. And if you are an investor, I would imagine that you would want to be exposed to something that's the largest in the history of mankind. Anyway, so there is one reason why you would like to explore those opportunities or that region, and to find out more at your leisure when you are looking at investments. The other catalyst for growth is the pensions that are expected to be paid to the Chinese people. And if you could think about there's over 1 billion people in China, and there was something called a one-child policy. So when they had this one-child policy, no one could have more than one kid. Now it's, 2 kids, but that's been only recently. So you could imagine that the ratio between the people who are going to be working to those that are going to need to be paid a pension is going to have a significant gap, meaning that there will be less people working than they are being receiving a pension payment. So that gap needs to be closed by getting a higher rate of return on the pension funds of the Chinese government, right? So where are they going to place that money? They're going to be placing that money and investing it into these companies that are investing into this, let's just say, this region, right? $7 trillion. I mean, that's where it's headed, and that's going to be the growth engine, and it's going to be a perpetual money, let's just say, invested in a perpetual amount of funds that are invested in that region as a result of this pension, as a result of something called MSCI, which is a index fund that is comprised of a number of different companies within Asia, and now many different investment funds can invest in the Chinese companies that we, as Americans, for example, may have not been able to do prior, right? So what does that mean? All right. In a nutshell, let's just dumb it down and keep it simple. It means that you want to be there before all of the influx of all of that capital continues to go into that market, right? It's already there, but this is going to continue. So that is another one of the catalysts for growth. All of these are very significant. So another key takeaway from the market is that these countries that are there in Asia, believe it or not, have a higher projected GDP than the other countries within the world. So as an example, according to PricewaterhouseCoopers, and you could just see the chart from PwC, I was able to get this from the one of the presentations. The U.S. is expected to grow just about 2% from 2016 to 2050. Okay, maybe now with tax reform, maybe it's 3%. Maybe this obviously might have been a PwC forecast prior to tax reform. So let's just say that it's 2% to 3% if you believe PwC's forecast. But all of the other countries that are in Asia, when you talk about Vietnam and India, Bangladesh and China and Philippines, they will double that, right, between the years of 2016 to 2050. So for me, I don't need any more evidence of where I want to be invested, all right? Now, all of you know that I typically am not a big stock picker. That's not what I do, but I am an equal opportunity lover of all assets. I don't really care what they are. That could be real estate, oil and gas, businesses, private equity, junior mining, which are typically publicly traded stock. But this is something that I am going to continue. I'm already invested in Asia. And the way that I go about investing in Asia is through typically anything that Stansberry recommends, because I'm smart enough to know that I'm dumb enough to figure it out on my own. So with that being said, this is kind of how I'm investing in that market over in Asia. I do invest in stocks as well as real estate, guys. I mean, I'm still a shareholder of AT&T and many other publicly traded companies, even though we might talk other asset classes. But anyway, all of us need to be a little bit more open and well-rounded across asset classes. And that's what this show is intended to provide for you, is because that's all I know. That's how I invest. And that's how all of my friends and those around me invest as well. So there are some links within the show notes to the websites for Crane Shares, for Stansberry Research. I highly recommend that you go ahead and explore them at your leisure if that is something that is of interest to you. And also, I want to say a shout out to all of the amazing individuals. Like I said, there were about 30 to 50 of us that went over into China. I was so fortunate to meet someone that is my best friend. I'm over in Asia, and hopefully I do with love for this individual, which his name is Chuck, to be a part of my life forever. He's like my best friend. And I enjoyed meeting everyone over there in Asia. There's just been so many relationships. And if there's anything that I could ever do for any of you, feel free to reach out to me at any time. And it was a pleasure to have had my first experience in Asia with such a wonderful group of people. Well, if you want to actually travel the world, I suggest that you begin learning to earn in your sleep. Otherwise, you may have to work until you die, but it also frees you up to travel wherever you want to go. And I'm offering everyone to get the Escape the Madness course, which will walk you through the 10 steps to achieve financial freedom, whatever the madness is that you need to escape from. So you can just get it on the website, a2ainvestor.com//store. And it is the course Escape the Madness, and it will be free for a limited time. So get yours today while it lasts. And I hope to see everyone later. Bye.
Thanks for listening to our show. Repetition is the way we learn. If you enjoyed our show, leave us a comment below. Knowledge is to be shared, not hoarded.
I knew what I needed, so I went out and got it. Started stacking up assets, now I'm bringing in profits. I knew what I needed, so I went out and got it. Started stacking up assets, now I'm bringing in profits.
Visit www.a2ainvestor.com, where you can get other tools and knowledge.